So I am always a massive fan of local politics. I think it plays a really important role um, in all the UK political life. You probably interact with it far more on a daily basis than you would certainly with sort of national politics. But people sort of pay a lot less attention to local politics than they do to national politics. And I think if people paid a lot more attention to local politics, I think there's a big chance of getting a lot more change done in our local communities and even getting some good policies through. Like I always say, Paint Your Town Red. Fantastic book if you ever want to find out more about sort of your local community and how you can actually get socialist policies through that will positively affect your town like they have done in Preston. So that's once again my plugging for that book done. But especially when it comes to other things like the NHS, because the government and the Tories in particular have tried to sort of break down the NHS, this has caused even more admin uh, expense to the NHS. It was mentioned at the time to the Tories that yes, this would be a thing, this would happen. And of course, the Tories just blankly ignored it. And of course, they've continued to underfund the NHS for, well, really, since they came to power. The NHS is not in safe hands when the Tory government is in power and have continued at pace to, well, try to shove more privatization into the NHS, either very overtly or as stealthily as they possibly can. You've only got to look at the case of down in London, with the London GPs now being farmed out to an American company. So, yeah, but this is quite an interesting story because it is a local story that I think should deserve a lot more national attention. So we're going to go over this piece. This is from the Nottingham Post, sorry. But it is obviously concerned that area and that region. So if you are in that area, something you probably need to know about. But of course, it also concerns Brexit as well. So before we do go diving into this, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel that way. So over we go to the Nottinghamshire Post for this, with their article on this titled, "The Nottinghamshire Politician Storms Out of Meeting After Saying Brexit Has Destroyed the NHS." A councillor stormed out of a meeting after being told he should, quote, avoid getting political. You're a councillor. That's what you should be doing. You are in politics. You are political by nature, being a councillor. I don't see how you can't be political. But yeah, anyway, bizarre. Anyway, it continues. Anyway, you should avoid, quote, getting political, having claimed that Brexit had destroyed the NHS. The Lib Dem councillor, Steve Carr, stomped out of a meeting in Nottinghamshire County Council County Hall during a discussion over the creation of a new NHS body, which was supposed to improve services across the region. The Nottingham and Nottinghamshire Clinical Coalitioning Group, or the CCG, was recently replaced by an integrated care board in a shake-up aimed at improving efficiencies between GPs, community services, the police, charities, and hospitals in Nottinghamshire. It is such a responsible for budgeting the NHS services in the area. The new board again was being discussed during a health secretary health scrutiny committee held at County Hall on Tuesday, the 26th of July, when an argument broke out. And questions were aimed at the chief executives of the ICB, Andy Sullivan and Preda Nagudu, I think that's how you say it, the head insight and engagement. Councillor Steve Carr, who represents Beeston North, asked, "There have always been health service challenges, but can I tell you, within about 100 metres of where I live on my estate, there were 7 health staff, qualified nurses and doctors that upped sticks and went back to the European Union, never to return. I know that's not your fault. It's not their fault," it's their fault, pointing at the Conservative councillors, "but Would you say the Brexit situation has contributed to resources being taken out? Councillor's Carr question comes at a time of increasing pressure on NHS services, not only in Nottinghamshire, but across the country. And NHS England data shows that there are more 8,000 doctor vacancies and around 40,000 nurse vacancies, and concerns have been raised before about how the EU referendum has prompted many European NHS staff to return to their home countries amid the uncertainty. And you may remember just a couple of days ago, we did that video on the demographic crisis that we are facing as a country. And in that article, it pointed out that to maintain staff levels, and that was, remember, this question was being posed to NHS people back in 2012, that they would have to hire 1 in 2 school leavers at the age of 16 in order to maintain current NHS staff levels. And remember, the pool of talent for the NHS, because of Brexit, now means we can no longer dip into that pool. That is going to cause huge problems. But there we go. In April, it was revealed via a leaked document that GPs were being drafted onto hospital wards in Nottinghamshire to help relieve some of the pressures which are amplified during the coronavirus pandemic. These pressures are largely a result of staffing issues, but are not being reported in hospitals within the ambulance services, such as EMAS. His question, however, provoked unrest amongst the councillors, which Carr continued to say, you don't like it, do you, when we talk about Brexit and its consequences? It's consequences that have destroyed the NHS. Councillor Sue Sugden, the chairwoman of the committee who represent Farringdon and Trent in the county council, responded to say, Councillor Carr, can I just remind you, this is not a political meeting. We are here to do what's best for residents. This is not a political committee. And the thing is, I think he's entirely right to sort of ask that question. You know, that's a valid question. You know, has Brexit taken resources away that you could use? That is a valid question. And I think you were seeing here, they do not want to acknowledge that there are consequences. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is happening otherwhere in local county councils. But this is, like I say, this is what I've also brought up before, that it's local newspapers or regional newspapers like this one that do this kind of reporting. So this is why they are important. Anyway, continues. Councillor Carr then stood up and said, this committee is an absolute waste of time. I'm going home to look after my wife. He then left the meeting. Speaking after the meeting, Carr told Nottingham Live, I was trying to get across that our health service to deliver helpful outcomes is now teetering on the brink of disaster, and all the government is doing is playing with administration. I have not got the time for a committee like that. How can you not ask political questions? He's right. During the tussle, Councillor Sagden had claimed in a dig that Councillor Carr had missed all the health scrutiny meetings before July the 26th. Asked by Nottingham Live why he had not attended the meetings, he replied, the first time there was a mix-up with the dates, and the last time was because my wife was in hospital. I thought that was very poor of the chairwoman to use that against me. So I think he's entirely within his rights to sort of ask that type of question. You know, these are questions that should be asked. You know, if the NHS is in trouble and it has had resources taken away from it because of Brexit, as he cited there, I think it was 9 officials, 9 people, he said. Yeah, so he lived on his estate. There was 7 people, so qualified nurses and doctors that upsticks and went back to the European Union, never to return. I think that is an entirely valid question. If you are on a health scrutiny committee and you are trying to find out the problems in the NHS, trying to provide solutions, then these are the types of questions you have to ask. And he's entirely right. The challenges currently that are facing the NHS are not administrative ones. They are on the front line. It is actually in the hospitals. It's got nothing to do with administration. Yet at the moment, the government has fragmented the NHS in such a way that it now has to spend more money on administration. And asking that question of, look, I knew doctors and nurses from the EU that upped and left, never to return. Has that been a problem for you? That is a valid question. So, but I think it does just go to show you, and I think he's right in sort of pointing it out, and it does mention it in the article itself we went over, that the Conservatives didn't like the fact that he was bringing up and the consequences of the Brexit that they had gone for, the hardest possible, of course, of all Brexits. Wouldn't surprise me, of course, because we saw a lot of this again back in 2016. If these were maybe even former Brexit, so we say the Brexit Party candidates, who then, after sort of Brexit got done, all of a sudden became Conservative Party candidates magically out of nowhere. So yeah, that is obviously quite a sort of a big concern, and I think he's entirely right and valid to sort of ask that question. So yeah, good on him for asking that question, because it is a question that needs to be asked. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a motivation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all